Bob Costas. I think it's the second show in a row we're talking about Bob Costas. At first, it was from Bill Maher, and he said similar comments. This was Michael Smerconish on CNN, and so here's the quote that people are calling it the deplorables type quote and all that. So here it is. Quote: "You have to be in the throes of some sort of toxic delusion and in a toxic cult to believe that Donald Trump has ever been, in any sense, emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, or ethically fit to be president of the United States." He added, but his supporters are locked in on that. So obviously, right wing media, they're jumping on the delusion and the cult aspect and basically saying you're calling all Trump supporters members of a cult. And I understand how we do this for political points and all that. So, look, and then he goes on. This is the second time also. He's not a Biden guy. He wants Biden to step aside. And this is my real issue has always been with Trump and his supporters. Again, there's a lot of policy points that I agree with Donald Trump, but it is about the crazy conspiracy theories and hey, some of them are proven to be true. Some of them. But the election being stolen. Everything is rigged. Any election Donald Trump loses was rigged. Any one he wins, it's all good. I can't do that. Again, I think he did some good things. I think overall he was a good president, but that's the part I think a lot of people, not just January 6th and overturning the election. That's the big part, but just convincing these people that everything he says is true. And I think a lot of people actually believe that. Others, I think they know it's false, but they still think Trump is a better
Right.
option than Biden. They think Biden is so bad, so old, and so bad on the border, they don't even care. But this is the part, again, just never being able to admit you lost, always lying about everything. I just hate that stuff.
I agree. And the reason Costas's comments are bad is because A, they're inaccurate, as you mentioned, because for the reason of they cast a wide brush. And you just laid out all the different ways that someone could arrive at supporting Trump. It's more than just a cultish devotion to him, although there are some people that have that. There are lots of other ways you could get there, right? Lesser of two evils. Biden's too old. How about I'm just a conservative? I'm just a conservative person. I want conservative policies and I don't care about the character of the person who gets that for me. That's what I want. So you could arrive at a vote for Donald Trump in a lot of different ways. And that's why the deplorables thing that Hillary Clinton said, this comment by Costas is A, inaccurate, but B, it's not helpful. Like, what does Costas want? It's clear that he does not want Donald Trump to be the president, right? We know that. He has made that explicitly clear. If that is your goal, to not have Donald Trump be the president, saying things like this make that, I mean, it depends how much credence you give to Costas's credibility, but it makes people less likely to come to your side. So A, it's inaccurate, but B, it's not an effective way of persuasion to say, oh, you disagree with me, you're stupid or naive or in a cult, right? Now, all of that said, part of the hallmark of our politics in 2024 is a cult like following for your team. I would
Yes.
cult may be a bit too strong. I would say more like fandom with sports teams. It's the blind. If you watch a game or with someone who is a hardcore fan of someone, or you are yourself, who is like really, I'm talking about someone who's emotionally into it, who's screaming, who's yelling at the TV. What is the hallmark of that fan? Well, how do they feel about referees? Every call that's questionable that goes against them, they're getting screwed. And every call that's questionable that goes for them is the right call. Why? Is it because they're dumb? No, it's because they're biased. They have something that is overriding their judgment that's innate. And that fandom, that tribal instinct, that cult devotion, whatever term you want to use, is a hallmark of our politics on both the left and the right. I will say, I think it is more evident in the Trump side. And for reasons you pointed out, the amount of people who will defend the most egregious behavior, the most outrageous things that Donald Trump says, will defend or brush them aside, shows you a devotion that is really, really fanatical. I mean, it is. Like, for instance, this no legal issue. Like, if Trump wins a court case, which he does win some, that's fine. But every other court case, every charge he faces, everything is a fraud. It's all part of the deep state, making no distinction between the different charges. As you said, the overturning of the election, that kind of slavish devotion to Donald Trump is a real thing. It's, again, it's not everybody that supports him. It's probably not even a majority of people that support him, but that does exist. And it exists to a lesser extent on the Democrat side as well. And it's one of the biggest problems with our politics right now.
And I would say the theme of this podcast is kind of the Supreme Court, and that's where you threw in there one of the reasons to vote for Trump or Biden is if you're a conservative or if you consider yourself a liberal. And I understand not liking Biden or Trump, but there's people in my family, and they'll say, look, I don't like Biden, and Biden's really old, but I hate what this Supreme Court is doing with these women's issues, with the Roe v. Wade. And I think it's fair to say we have the most conservative Supreme Court that we've ever had, maybe most political 6-3 court right now. And look, if you're a conservative, you might really like that. Now, you don't have to agree with that, but I can understand why somebody goes, look, I don't love Trump, I don't love Biden, but I am a conservative or I am a liberal, and I'm going to vote for R or D for my particular policies. And this is kind of funny. Look, this does 100% happen on both sides. I don't know if you saw the clip. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel sent people out to South Carolina. Did you see this clip
No,
by any chance? Okay. I'm
no.
paraphrasing here, but it's exactly what you said. They basically, and a lot of different media sites have done this. They say, hey, these are things Joe Biden said. And then the person's like, yeah, that's terrible. Well, there are actually things Trump said. And then when they tell me, so the woman who's the reporter, she's like, Joe Biden said this. And the woman's like, yeah, that's terrible. That's awful. And the reporter goes, wait. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. That was actually something said by Donald Trump. And they totally flipped their opinion on the matter, right? All that mattered. And by the way, just so everybody watching, I know there's Democrats that do the exact same
Yep.
thing. This is just a thing I saw, but it's so true. And this has always been my issue. I truly don't care. I can disagree with you. The hypocrisy is what I hate the most. I hate the hypocrisy when if my guy does it, it's okay, and you defend it or you try to justify it. When my enemy does it, I go after him. That's what I hate most about our politics is the blatant hypocrisy.
Yes. And some of that is inevitable because we're human beings and we all have our biases. And so that's all, some of that's always been there and always will be. I think what is unique now is it is worse than it has ever been. And social media is the maybe the biggest single contributor to that. And in particular the algorithm, right? Because it's not just social media, it's the experience you get on social media through the algorithm when you search things, what your feed is on X, here on YouTube. What YouTube has a very effective algorithm. Anyone knows whoever's watches things on YouTube. That and how good these algorithms have gotten for these tech companies is a big problem because it leads people into a rabbit hole, and there will always be people looking to make money who will feed you whatever it is you want. So if you want to hear that January 6th wasn't really that big of a deal and it was an inside job by the FBI, if you kind of want to believe that, that will be given to you. And you can find that. If you want to believe that Trump really didn't try to overturn the election, it was all overblown, which of course isn't true. He tried desperately to overturn the election in many ways. There are people that will give you that. And so what has happened is it has become easier to deny reality and fact. People have always denied reality and fact, but it used to be harder because people would be like, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about?" But now the algorithm gives you the backing for that. As awful as it may be, as unfactual as it may be. And so you can find that reinforcement. And so now people get dug in. And so every legal case against Donald Trump's a witch hunt, no matter what it is, whether it's the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels or trying to overturn the election or keeping classified documents, it's all the same. It's all just everybody's out to get him. And it again, it happens on both sides. I want to be clear on that. We could go down the list of things that liberals have said were, not true that were. And
Mhm.
there's a long list there. But what I'm saying is it's more severe on the right. And I think with what we've seen with the election, the stakes are higher with what you've seen of it on the right. And there's no question that is a major factor. And look, I don't have any good answers for how you combat that. I don't know because the algorithms aren't going to get worse. They're not going to. It's the tech companies with AI, especially. They're not going to get worse at feeding you what you want to hear. There's never going to be a shortage of people looking to take money for reinforcing ideas, whether they believe them or not. And that's going to get it's going to continue. And I don't know what the answer is other than just try your best in your own way to be fair and reasonable.